would you accept evidence if someone said that they were going to, or would you accept a conclusion based on evidence that someone said they were going to reveal to you at a later date?
I don't know what you call this, whether we're going to call it what's your argument, or if we're going to call it what would Pierce ask. But either way, I have Quayd here from What's Your Argument, and we're going to be reviewing a couple videos. We're going to be reviewing one on my channel here, and then another on his channel, so be sure to go out and check out his video on his channel, actually all his videos, because he's got an awesome YouTube channel, and the link will be in the description. Quayd, I guess if you want to introduce yourself maybe a little bit better than I did, if you have anything to say.
I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, what's your argument? I just want to know what your argument is. That's it. And then I ask questions about your argument, and then that's it.
All right, and I think my viewers will be a little bit familiar with that. I do something kind of sort of similar, but I kind of take it like I'm performing street epistemology on these people, where Quayd does more of a analytical type thing. But it's going to be interesting going over this together. I think what we're going to do is I'm going to have Quayd kind of give his thoughts, and then I'm going to kind of think of questions that I could ask in regards to the content that we'll be viewing. And it should be a lot of fun. So the first video we got here is regarding Mike Lindell, and he's the MyPillow guy. So there's a little CNN clip where he talks about the election, and let's just jump right into it.
MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell continues to claim he has evidence that China hacked U.S. voting systems and switched votes for the former president to Biden votes. In a moment, you'll hear what 24 election officials and cyber experts contacted by CNN say about those claims. Lindell is not backing down even as he faces a lawsuit from voting machine maker Dominion alleging he's defamed the company with false accusations, and Lindell's company is countersuing. CNN's Drew Griffin went to Minnesota to talk to Lindell about his claims that threaten democracy. Here's Drew's report.
The MyPillow guy.
Mike Lindell, yes, the MyPillow guy is convinced China hacked the election, Donald Trump really won, and Lindell has the absolute proof.
They did it in all the states, every single state.
They changed the votes.
Every single state.
And you have the proof.
Yes.
Well, that seems to be the claim there, that in every single state that the votes were changed. Got anything yet, Quayd, on that?
Yeah, I think there's two. One is that China hacked and switched the Trump votes to Biden votes, and that they did this in every single state.
Yep.
So there's like two there.
And I suppose if I was performing street epistemology, I would just kind of restate the claim right there. So repeat that back to Mike Lindell. And I suppose I'm also kind of taking an approach as with the questions that I come up with, it might be geared more towards someone that agrees with Mike Lindell, or takes his claim as truth, rather than Mike Lindell himself. But I would either way, whether I was talking directly to him or someone who takes his claims as truth, I would be sure to repeat back that claim.
That will show
I have the whole
the
data.
actual exchange of votes.
Yep, 100%. 100%.
It is, of course, complete nonsense, despite...
I'm in control here, so I don't know when to stop. Should I keep going?
Yeah. I mean, I would just stop whenever you want to naturally. I mean, the only things that I really note are some rhetorical things, like they're really talking over each other. So repeating questions back would be helpful. And Mike Lindell has given his confidence, 100%. It's 100% true. So.
Yes, that was a good pickup there. All right.
Every piece of so-called evidence Lindell has presented so far, 3 videos, a lawsuit, screenshots he sent to CNN, there's still no proof that the election was hacked, and that's according to 24 cyber experts and election officials contacted by CNN.
100% evidence.
When Lindell released his so-called evidence, in videos like this, fact-checkers quickly found out it was evidence of nothing. These images are just publicly available voter data, scrolling across the screen, not proof of election hacking. So Lindell changed his story, saying now the real evidence will be revealed at a cyber symposium, streamed live with MyPillow discounts available throughout. And as further proof, he sent CNN a preview 6 different screenshots.
You sent us this on Friday.
Yeah.
What is this?
That's just one piece of 1.2 billion lines of data from the election. Okay, within that will be timestamps of when it happened. There'll be flips in there.
So we sent this to our own experts. Mm-hmm. He said that it doesn't show any specific actions of any kind, election related or not, and it's proof of nothing.
Okay, so he said that's nothing, huh? Well, he's wrong. Then you didn't hire a cyber expert.
We didn't consult just one cyber expert. We consulted 9 top election security experts who told us Lindell's screenshots were extremely rudimentary metadata and completely ridiculous. We also reached all 15 officials from the 15 counties where Lindell says, without any proof, votes were hacked and switched. Lindell mentions some of the counties in his videos and lists them out in his counter lawsuit against Dominion Voting. They are counties that use paper ballots counted by systems not connected to the internet. Every one of them told CNN there is no evidence they were hacked by anyone.
I just want to interject here. And so Mike Lindell is claiming that some of the votes were changed supposedly by a third party via the internet. And this data that he provided is evidence of such voter fraud. And I guess my question would be, why is this metadata evidence of election fraud? I mean, that might be something that is difficult to comprehend if you don't have, like, a degree, perhaps. I myself probably wouldn't be able to take a look at the metadata and determine anything, right? But I guess what I would specifically ask is, why this metadata is evidence for election fraud. And a lot of times I like to speculate on what he might answer, but I can't even imagine, really. I can't speculate.
Yeah, I think there's some issues with part of the reason that I feel like I'm having issues is because of the way I feel that CNN is addressing this. So part of it is like they're not putting him saying certain things, they're putting what their interpretation of him saying certain things was. So that kind of gets difficult. I would have questions for both, I think. Though mine might be more pointed, like I would ask him like how can there be a scenario in which he's claiming to have information that would require connection to an internet, yet there was no connection to the internet. That might be a question that I would ask the MyPillow guy. And then I also notice some things with the interviewer where he's saying that no experts agreed that there was evidence of voter information. And it sounded earlier like he had said that it was voter information. It just didn't indicate fraud. So I would be interested in if there could be a resolution to that, what seemed to me to be a discrepancy. And maybe I might ask Mike Lindell, would you accept evidence if someone said that they were going to, or would you accept a conclusion based on evidence that someone said they were going to reveal to you at a later date? I would be interested in what his answer to that would be, because, and again, CNN to me is making this difficult because I'm not exactly sure if that's what he said, but let's just take it and say that he is in fact, he kind of reneged on the idea that there was information and now was saying, I'm actually going to release it at a later date. And actually, I have heard him say something along those lines, so I think that still would be a legitimate question for him. Would he accept a claim if I told him I was going to give him the information at a later date? And then I think as a final question for me might be and it might go nowhere, but with the CNN interviewer, is the fact that 24 cyber experts looked at something and said that there was nothing, mean that there was nothing. I happen to agree. I would say that it does mean that. I would say that, yeah, if if 24 cyber experts aren't really seeing anything, that strongly indicates to me that there probably is nothing. But I would just be interested in what the response would be.
I think that those questions are really fantastic. And all the viewers and Quayd here, excuse the thunder out there. It's you can probably hear it. It is extremely loud. But anyways, going along with your one question regarding if someone was to present evidence at a later time, would you accept the conclusion? I think that's a really good question for anyone who accepts Lindell's claim prior to him presenting this evidence. When is the time to have belief? Before evidence is presented or after evidence is presented? If it's before evidence is presented, why before, right? Like, when is the appropriate time to suspend your belief, right?
You identified 15 counties where the votes were switched. We contacted all 15 counties, red and blue. Red and blue.
It doesn't matter.
And we couldn't find a single person that said this is even possible. They say, are you mistaken?
Right.
They think you're wrong.
Right.
The bottom line is they have paper ballot backups
that
prove that they were not.
So you guys went and they let you audit there? They let you do a full audit, CNN? You guys did a full audit on 15 counties, huh?
We did what Lindell did not do. We went to Delta County, Michigan to see how the election was carried out. Trump won here, nearly 2-1.
The state, Michigan, entry point owner, Delta County.
In his videos and his lawsuit, Lindell claims someone in China hacked the election system here and stole away precisely 3,215 Trump votes and turned them into Biden votes. The Republican county clerk, Nancy Przrocki, finds the allegation laughable for one main reason.
It is never connected to the internet. Never connected to the internet. At all, whatsoever.
Not only are they not connected to the internet, the votes are cast by hand on paper. Voters scan their ballots into this Dominion scanning machine where 2 digital storage cards keep a tally. The paper ballot goes right into this bin under lock and seal.
And that container is sealed.
And just to check that everything went okay, they conduct audits, comparing the paper ballots to the results on the computer. And in 2020, it was an exact match.
We audited 3 different precincts and they matched exactly, So
what would you say to somebody who made a documentary that, among many counties, accused your county of being the victim of a Chinese hack that changed the vote counts?
I would say that didn't happen in Delta County.
A Republican-led Michigan State Senate investigation found out it didn't happen anywhere. No evidence of widespread or systematic fraud.
I don't think you really understand how votes are cast, collected, and tabulated in this country.
Okay, you know what? I do. But what you don't understand is they can get, after they're tabulated, they can get hacked after the fact, which they were, because Donald Trump was going to win anyway. Donald Trump was going to win anyway.
The paper ballots
That's an interesting statement and claim. He says Donald Trump was going to win anyway. And I would ask him how he knows that Trump was going to win anyway. Because before the votes are counted, before the election happens, it's very difficult, I think, to know who's going to win. And I think that's kind of proven by all the polls and the lack of accuracy in the last several years, right? So, yeah, I would just ask him why he believes that. And I would imagine he would say something similar to what the conversation I had with a fellow named Dino on my channel. Actually, it was on my channel. Now it's only on my podcast because YouTube. But I think he might say something similar to the effect of, well, on YouTube, Trump had all these views and his rallies were packed, and Biden, he didn't have as many views. He didn't have anybody go to any of his speeches. And I think that's kind of a bad way to determine the outcome of an election. And with Dino, we talked about, a concert, like a Metallica concert, and then like an orchestra concert, right? And just because people didn't attend an orchestra concert, does that mean that there's not a lot of people who love and enjoy orchestra? No, of course not. So that would kind of be the route I would go down with him.
Yeah, that's a great analogy there. I'll have to keep that in the back pocket. Yeah, I think there's just a general issue of like understanding the burden of proof. I think that like in terms of like splitting up the claim, what we have is a few things. One is that China's involved, or that China was kind of the driving force behind this, that it specifically changed Biden to Trump votes, that this was, it sounds like mostly one-sided. I think that's fair to infer that that's what he's claiming, that it was significant, so that there was a significant amount of it to modify the election, and that it happened in every state. And so I would maybe just ask him if I were to maybe claim the reverse, or if we were to remove this specific election from the equation, if we made it about a different election, what standard would he create for me if I wanted to prove to him that China was involved, that it was one-sided, that it was significant? Does, like just from scratch, what things would he expect to see or find in my data and the data that I would give him? I think would be a place to start.
Do an audit to match them up, though.
Were audited against the machine
No, they weren't.
count.
No, they weren't.
In these counties,
No, they
Mike.
weren't. No, they weren't. Who told you that?
The county officials
Oh,
who
did they tell
it.
you that? Well, they're going to have some answering to do.
No matter who says there was no widespread fraud in the election, whether it's local election officials, secretaries of state, judges, or even Donald Trump's own attorney general, Mike Lindell's conclusion is the same. They are all wrong.
All these county officials are lying?
I don't know. They might be misconstrued. We'll say misconstrued because they don't realize what happened.
Lindell says his information comes from multiple sources, all of them super secret. He claims he's spent millions on the project and also claims he will give $5 million to anyone who proves him wrong.
Mike, you can make up anything.
Who can? No, you can't. This is where. No, this is where.
Going to have
no,
a demonstration.
No. This is where you're wrong. We're giving it to We're giving it to the cyber people that show up. We're going to give them each state. Here's a state, Georgia. They can take it apart.
You could possibly be the victim of a scam here.
Well, then why don't you come to the symposium and make $5 million? Are you worried about me? We should give a hug. You're worried about Mike? Oh, God bless you.
Here's what we're worried about. We're worried that what you are doing is mistakenly or deliberately destroying the confidence in the legitimate elected president of the United States and fostering what could be real damage
I never
to
said
this
anything
country.
bad about Biden or the Democrats.
You have through this
No,
investigation.
I have not. You pull it up. You're lying now. You're lying.
Mike,
I said
listen
the
to what I
Democrats
said.
warned us. No, you're lying. I said the Democrat Party warned us of this.
You're saying that Joseph Biden was illegitimately elected.
I'm saying that China did an attack on our country.
And that the wrong person won.
That's right.
The people who have watched your video believe what you say.
100%.
If you're wrong, isn't that very dangerous?
Yes, but I'm not wrong. I've checked it out. I've spent millions. You need to trust me and come there.
Yeah, I trust him. Drew Griffin joins us now. Do you have any reason to believe that now, after months of this, I mean, he has never offered proof of anything, and there is no proof, and it's been debunked. It's like his support for sham remedies. I mean, he has a history.
And the conversation, as you could tell, Anderson, goes round and round in circles. And I'm telling you, after our discussion, I'm not convinced Mike Lindell understands how voting works, period, let alone that he has proof of a massive voting conspiracy. And like you say, he claims to have all these super secret sources, but he never shows those sources, never shows their proof. There's very good reason to believe all of this is linked to recycled conspiracy theories from the past, all completely discredited. Lindell says, no, this is new. He's paid millions to check it out. But, as we've seen so far, it just does not hold up, period.
Yeah, Drew Griffin, appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think that there's another question there. Would he accept evidence from somebody who wasn't revealing the source of the information. So we don't know where the information's coming from, and we don't even really have that much of the data. Seems like a lot is just going to come out as time goes on.
I think a good question for Mike or anyone who accepts Mike's claim would be probably a good first question would be what would raise your confidence that there was, widespread election fraud that was so much that that Trump won the election. And it's hard to speculate what someone could answer with that. I suppose they could say, maybe the Arizona audit, something like that, or Mike Lindell's evidence that he finally comes through with if it's seems like it's good evidence. And then I think the more revealing question might be, what would lower your confidence? I don't know that, especially like Mike Lindell, I don't know if he would have an answer at all. I think his answer would be nothing. And I think then you have to make the conversation about that, about if nothing could change your confidence, if nothing could lower your confidence, is that a belief that you should hold, right? So
yeah, that might also go nowhere too. I think that there may be I think that a big factor here, which I don't think CNN is helping, is the emotional component. He's very emotional about this, and so it would probably take a very flat affect to get him to even out and to just be what I don't think is always the best thing to do, and basically you end up catering to the other person's emotions. That can be really harmful to the conversation as well. But if you want them to not go off on these long side tangents and get sidetracked and try and sidestep and everything they could possibly do, then you want to try to probably remove as much of your own emotional contribution as possible.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Totally. I mean, CNN isn't in the business of performing street epistemology or anything. So that really wasn't their goal to convince Mike otherwise. I mean, they were more I think they were going for entertainment at that point more than anything else.
It's probably wise too. Yeah. They probably know better. They probably know that doing so would be very, very difficult with him as an individual.
Right. Yeah, if they were able to pull that off, I'd be very, very impressed. I don't really have any more final thoughts on the matter. Do you have any final thoughts?
No, I think we got most of it. There was a claim that that 3,215 votes had switched that were for Trump, for Biden. And again, we're back to that question that the fact that the votes are taken, hand on paper, and they're not connected to the internet. He may say, well, are they connected to the internet after or something like that? Those may be legitimate questions, but I guess knowing exactly when he thinks it happened, how it happened, that's really all the information that you need to start making good conclusions.
Right.
So,
and I suppose there would be a real easy way to determine if those specific votes were changed. I'm assuming they all were in maybe one county. I'm not entirely sure what his claim is. But if they were, I think auditing one single county might be fairly straightforward. I mean, if he's supposedly spent millions already, I suppose an audit in one county isn't that much more money. So that might be a good way to determine truth. I wonder if he would accept the results of such audit if it was to come to one. But
I could guess.
Me too.
I do have a guess.
Me too.